Okay, good morning and welcome to another episode of Gull-Mouth Action podcast, where we take a look at all the latest goings on at Brigton and Hove Albion. I'm Derren Howard, and this week I'm joined by Brighton expert and Sussex World reporter Henry Bryant and Sussex World sports reporter Sam Morton as well. Brighton's search for a successor to Roberto De Zerbi continues. We've been keeping up to speed with all the latest developments, and you can read all the stories we're talking about with videos and pictures online at sussexworld.co.uk/sport. And you can check out other great videos on shotstv.com and Freeview channel 276. You may also be watching on Latest TV, so thank you very much for tuning in. But we start with the Brighton manager situation. Still no news on Graham Potter or Steve Cooper. Henrik Rydström, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, remains the third favourite. But there's no word from the club, and it's all fairly quiet. Where do you think we're at, Sam, with the search? We're sort of more than 2 weeks in now, aren't we? Sort of after De Zerbi left.
Yeah, it's all very quiet, isn't it, Darren? Really, it's very strange because obviously I think we discussed last week that obviously when De Zerbi left, we just kind of assumed that Brighton had a plan and it wouldn't take too long for a successor to come in. I mean, it hasn't worked out like that at all, really. It's all very quiet, and obviously it's difficult to know what the club are planning to do. And it does seem like Potter was an option, and maybe still is an option. But you feel like if that was going to happen, it would have already happened. I think Ian Hart was saying that in the last episode, that it strikes as a bit odd that when they have had him as manager before, they've obviously still got him close contact and things like that. You'd think that if that was going to happen, he's out of a job, and it could be quite a quick transition if it was something they both agreed to. So it does beg the question whether maybe he's waiting for the England job if Gareth Southgate was to leave England, or it's a bit strange on the Graham Potter side of things and what's going on with that one. So it's a difficult one. Obviously, it is very quiet, and as you say, there's in some other names linked like Henrik Rydström and Steve Cooper, but it's all. I guess it's all just hearsay at the moment, isn't it? And it's difficult to narrow down an exact plan that we think Brighton are going to go with. So definitely it's an interesting one, and it's just tough to call, really. Tough to call what the club is doing.
I think sorry, sir.
That's right. Yeah, no, I think
some fans are keen to get it resolved so that they can start the pre-season preparations and the transfer situation, Henry. Graham Potter was also linked to Feyenoord today as well. Obviously, they're looking for a replacement for Arne Slot, who moved to Liverpool. Feyenoord are champions. You know, they'll be playing Champions League football again next season. But yeah, do you think the club are they must be working really hard behind the scenes? So you've got to sort of trust the process of the club, really, isn't it? That they're working hard and we'll get the right man in.
I think, I'd have to agree. I think they've been stumped with the likes of Kieran McKenna signing a new contract at Ipswich. I think that was their go-to man, really, and it's just not worked out for him. And I mean, fair enough to Kieran, he's done a fantastic job at Ipswich, and he wants to, at least have a season with them up in the Premier League. And who wouldn't after getting their side promoted in that fashion? And they've done really well. I think that, I think Graham Potter, according to some sources at least, is going to look for that England job potentially if Gareth Southgate doesn't renew his contract after the Euro 2024. I think in terms of an England manager, he hasn't really been proven, I'd say, and he's not really had that sort of calibre that you would look at an England manager for. But I think I can see it happening, if I'm honest, and it's been such a tricky one for Brighton, and I think the fans as well. I think they know if they did end up bringing Graham Potter in, there would be a massive divide, as we've spoken about previously, and the fact that you'd almost be coming in having an uphill battle with some of the fans, I don't think would sit right for Tony Bloom and Barber in general. If you look at the list of people we've even got the likes of Brendan Rodgers. No, he's not on the sort of favourites list, but he plays a very possession-based style of football when he's managing, and his passing from the back to attacking flow is very similar to that of De Zerbi's that we've seen previously. So I think he'd be a good option. And as you were mentioning as well, Henrik Rydström in the Swedish league at the moment, managing Malmo, who are currently first. I think that when you see those sort of unheard names, it's always Brighton to sign them. I mean, Roberto De Zerbi, no one really knew who he was. Graham Potter as well. I mean, he was managing abroad, came to Swansea, and I only had a little bit of time there before he was put straight into the Premier League and done really well. So I think as Brighton fans and people that follow the club, they know that they can trust Brighton, but I think they're having a lot more of an issue than they realised.
Yeah, and just on Rydström, obviously he has been backed by a Brighton player, isn't he? Yasin Ayari. He made quite a funny comment saying, we asked if it was just a rumour and said it would be sick if it came true. He's a great coach who likes to play good football. The rumour can't be completely stupid because Brighton look at data and stats, and he has very good statistics in the Swedish league. So that could be promising, and a bit of an endorsement there from one of his compatriots. So there definitely could be one that Brighton could be looking at.
Yeah, it could be another ace up Brighton's sleeve again, which we'll just have to wait and see and trust the process that they get the right man in. But away from the manager's search, the news came through this week that Steven Alzate has left the club, I think after 7 seasons at Brigton and Hove Albion. He's a good midfielder, Sam, wasn't he? But never really had a regular run in the team. He was sort of introduced under Graham Potter, then went out on loan a couple of times to the Belgium league. I think there'll be a few takers for him, won't there? Having him on a free transfer, you'd have thought. I heard Rangers, Glasgow Rangers are supposed to be quite keen.
Yeah, no, obviously he's a good player who can do a job for a number of teams, I think, really. And obviously he's at a good age of 25. He can still develop and be moulded into a really good midfielder. And as you say, he hasn't really had that opportunity to thrive at Brighton. He joined the club in 2017 from Leyton Orient and made 72 appearances for the club in all competitions, including 52 starts, which it almost seems like that's a lot. It doesn't. I don't remember making as many, really. But for the last 2 seasons, he's been on loan with Standard Liège in Belgium and played 47 times for them in all competitions. But yeah, as I mentioned, really, he is a tidy player and he can do a job. Do a job for a number of teams. I think I do wish him well for the future and hope he does find a team that he can play regularly for. And it was clear that wasn't going to happen at Brighton. So yeah, fingers crossed for him that he can go somewhere that he can really kind of show that potential that he did show in the early stages for Brighton. And but yeah, it's one for Brighton to probably replace and get another midfielder in to improve their ranks next season. And we've obviously, I think, mentioned Emile Smith-Rowe is potentially one that Brighton could bring in. He's a bit of a forgotten man at Arsenal after he break through a couple of seasons there, and he was the man on everyone's lips, really. And he really did
a couple of times, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And he's obviously not favoured by Mikel Arteta at the moment. He barely played at all in the season just gone. So I think he'll definitely be looking for an exit route and for some regular first team football, and that could be a good one for Brighton to go for, really. So time will tell with that one.
Yeah, it's reported. There has been a link with Emile Smith-Rowe, and 30 million is the figure you never quite trust these figures, but Arsenal apparently wouldn't stand in his way of him leaving. 30 million would be the figure. Henry, do you think that would be a good deal for Brighton? Someone like that?
I think it would be reasonable, and we, mentioned that he had breakout seasons at Arsenal, but the man's only 23, and when you think about it like that, you sort of realise the amount of potential he still has, and the fact that he has had a few appearances for England as well, maybe just a few glimmers of what he can do. I think that he would be a great addition to Brighton, and having another one of those names that is, I would say, is a more established Premier League player than we're used to getting would be really beneficial to us. And we look at last season when we got João Pedro, and that was for the figure of around 30 million as well. I think he falls into the same category, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think he really does. And I think his attacking play, when he's able to get the ball, has been second to none when he has been on form. He is a bit of a forgotten man, but I think Brighton could be the best place for him to go, really, to not revive his career, because he's barely had a career as of yet, but just to sort of boost himself, get that game time and actually show everyone what he's about. And, he may even be playing for England in the next few years if he is able to find a club that he can get some form at and actually get some game time.
Yeah, no, I think he would be a good signing for Brighton. There's obviously he's been linked. Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, Brighton went for in the previous window. So a couple of those, one or even both of those would be good, especially if Pascal Gross is thinking of moving on. Sam, that's going to be an area where Brighton are really going to need to strengthen, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Pascal Gross is a huge one. I think they really need to keep hold of him for at least another season. I think, just with the uncertainty that there will be with the new manager, and the one person that's remained constant for all the different managers Brighton have had is Pascal Gross. So he's been that gel to keep the team together and to really help the manager bed into the team and learn what it's all about. I think Pascal Gross is a key part of that as well. So I think it would be vital to keep hold of him if Brighton possibly can. But yeah, if he was to go, it's a huge hole to fill for multiple reasons. Obviously, his versatility and everything like that. It's going to be almost impossible, I think, to find a like-for-like replacement to Pascal Gross, because he really is one of a kind in that sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, and he's made one that could bring a bit of versatility to the team. Obviously, he's one that was linked in January that didn't go through. The Brighton could potentially revive that interest. Interesting to see if that was one that was being pushed by De Zerbi or the club. And it's difficult, isn't it? I think with transfer targets, it's always very difficult to predict while there's no manager at the club, because once they get a manager in, he can have completely different ideas for what players he would like in. So it could be a bit counterproductive to start thinking about the signings before you've got a manager in place, and it could work against Brighton. So yeah, I think they really do need to get this manager situation sorted and have conversations with the players and see who's staying on, who's potentially going to be leaving, and start to get that squad in place for next season.
Mm-hmm. Who else would you like to see come in, Sam? Which other areas do you think Brighton need to strengthen this season?
I think another striker. So Dennis Undav's obviously going to be leaving. He's obviously spoken very publicly about his desire to stay at Stuttgart. Yeah. So I think another striker would be a real bonus. I think Evan Ferguson is obviously, I think, only going to improve on his season. So hopefully he can stay fit. He's had some injury problems. Obviously, we know that Danny Welbeck is staying for at least another season, so that's great for his experience, and he can keep working alongside Evan Ferguson. But I think, yeah, definitely another striker. And as we've seen, obviously with injury problems, how quickly it can go wrong in that sense. And obviously, you've got João Pedro there as well. So if he can keep fit as well, it's going to be difficult, because obviously if you're going to try and sign a striker, they'll be looking at it and thinking Brighton do have some real quality attacking players. And it's just a case of whether they think they're going to get regular minutes, or if they're happy to be a kind of a bit part player that can play minutes here and there when there's injuries and whatnot. So it's definitely a difficult one. That's half the reason why Dennis Undav was let go on loan, and in hindsight I've regretted that because of how well he's done over in Germany. So yeah, lots of questions really in that sense, and I think be one for the new manager to ponder really. But I think definitely a striker, and yeah, I think there's some various other positions really. I think you get maybe a bit of backup in defensive midfield to help Carlos Baleba, and to maybe give him someone with more experience, I guess, because obviously you've got two young holding midfielders in Billy Gilmore and Baleba is very young, and if you get someone maybe a bit more experience to help them out when times are tough, that can only help as well. Yeah, no, I agree. An experienced head would be good in there. But join us after the break, and we'll be looking at Brigton and Hove Albion players who will be on international duty throughout the summer. But thanks again for joining us on the Gull-Mouth Action podcast, and we're talking about all things Brigton and Hove Albion. And this summer we've got the Euros to look forward to, and also the Copa America, where Brighton will have a few players over there representing the club. But we'll start, Henry, with Bart. Get my teeth in. Bart Verbruggen, who's going to be the Dutch #1 goalkeeper. This Ronald Koeman confirmed that he's the main man going into the Euros. That's a huge boost of confidence, isn't it, for Verbruggen at age just 20 to 21? Yeah, as you say, age 21, it's a great achievement for him. We know that the lifespan of goalkeepers is that much longer than other outfield players. So it's just fantastic to see that he's being given that privilege and being able to have that game time. I think
when he came with us this season, I think there are a few moments of uncertainty, a few moments where you'd think that maybe the goalkeeper should have saved it or should have kept hold of it, and conceded a few goals in that aspect. But I think Brighton fans can forgive that because of the talent that we've got on our hands. It was very similar to watching De Gea in his first sort of half season at Manchester United when he was in this between the sticks. A few mistakes made there, and there were a few instances where some fans at the time were saying, "Oh, we're not sure about this young goalkeeper," but he did do absolutely amazingly. And I think that Brighton have got themselves a real gem in Verbruggen. I hope he does well, and I hope he's able to sort of, enforce his confidence and bring that into Brighton for next season, because I think whoever we get in, it will be another manager that will look to play from the back and sort of attack on those wings. So to have Verbruggen V2 maybe next season with that little bit more confidence, that little bit more swagger in, passing it about and just making sure the defence have a good morale and a good sort of relaxed sort of base to trust their goalkeeper would be fantastic for us.
Yeah, no, he looks a confident character, doesn't he? And I think if he has a good Euros this summer, then that would be great for Brighton. But just going through the list, so Brighton they've got Dennis Undav, he's going to be with Germany. Pascal Gross also with Germany. Verbruggen, Holland, the Netherlands. Billy Gilmore, Scotland. Lewis Dunk, hopefully he'll make the cut. I saw James Maddison was left out of the squad, isn't it? He's going to be left out. But Lewis Dunk, is it Saturday that Southgate will announce the final squad? Isn't it, Sam?
I think so. Yeah, I think it is Saturday. Obviously, the game against Iceland is on Friday, so for a kind of final chance to test some players out and test some of the systems it will be using in the Euros and to work out. But obviously, he's made that early decision on James Maddison not to bring him. And I was a bit surprised by that actually, because he can really offer something different. And but it just shows a level of quality in this England squad that you can afford to leave out someone of the quality of James Maddison, really. And time will tell, obviously, if Lewis Dunk makes it. And I really hope he does.
He played quite well, didn't he, against Bosnia? I thought he did. He looked quite good in this place. 73 minutes, I think. He played
73 minutes. Yeah, got a clean sheet, so that's always positive. And he looks more composed, and obviously he's going to have bigger and better attackers to deal with in the Euros. But I think he did a good job, and hopefully Gareth Southgate sees fit to include him in the squad, because we know from following Brighton just how brilliant Lewis Dunk is and how much of a cool head he is, and he can really be a vital figure in that England squad, really. So I'd really like to see him go along to the Euros.
No, good luck to him. And there's also Jacob Moder as well. He's coming back to fitness. He'll be in for Poland. Valentin Barco, he's hoping to make the Argentina team for the Copa America. Julio Enciso as well with Paraguay. He should be in the Copa America. Jeremy Sarmiento and also Tom McGill, the goalkeeper. He'll be going with Canada as well. He's the third choice goalkeeper at Brighton. Who are you looking forward to watching this summer, Henry, from the Brighton players?
Well, I'd have to say Lewis Dunk, especially if he is included. I think that would be a big one for us. And I mean, I do hope he's brought in, because I know that he's had some issues, especially when he was played against Belgium and he got done by Lukaku. And literally the week before, it was almost a very similar situation against Roma. And I just thought, I felt so sorry for him.
Me too.
But I think that he'd be a great one to watch. Also, maybe one that isn't to be expected, but maybe Julio Enciso and Jakob Moder. I think that talking about Jakob Moder first, De Zerbi had said in a press conference previously when he was coming back from injury at the Albion that he brings something a lot different to his other options at the team. And I think he just is building his confidence back up through the injury and time that he's had out. And it would be really interesting to see how he performs, because he could be a stand-up player for Brighton next season if he picks up a bit of form, and he was getting some game time near the end of the season as well, which was great to see. It will be interesting to see if the next manager that comes in will sort of offer him that sort of game time and a sort of chance to come back as well, or if he'll end up like Alzate and just not get that opportunity again. And with Enciso, I mean, the creativity that he gives us is immaculate. It's really great to see. So that'll be another interesting watch for Albion fans.
Yeah, I think it would be great for Enciso as well, because he, again, similar to Verbruggen, a good Copa America, would then have him coming back to next season sort of fit and ready to go, because he didn't, because of his knee injury, he hasn't played a lot for them. And I think, who have they got? So Paraguay, they've got Colombia, Costa Rica, and Brazil in their group. So that's going to be a big summer for him, isn't it, Sam? After the injuries he's had.
So who are you say that? Who you said
Julio Enciso. Yeah,
absolutely. I think he's really been hampered by injuries this season in Enciso, and he obviously missed a huge chunk. And he's been such a brilliant player for Brighton when he's played. Obviously, he really burst onto the scene the season before last and scored some incredible goals. Obviously, no better than against Chelsea and Man City. And just following up from that, you kind of really expected him to kick on and have an even better season. And as I say, injuries really did hamper him. But when he came back, it took a little bit of time to settle back into the team. But it was just in that final stretch of the season that he really did start to show what he can do again, and was really showing some brilliant performances, really. And he's really impressing again. And I think the end of the season came at a bad time for him. And I really hope that he has a great Copa America, and he can come back from that with full of confidence, and can help Brighton get off to a brilliant start in the new season. And I think he's going to be crucial. I think for any new manager coming into Brighton, they'll look at him as being someone they can really mould the team around a little bit, and to really benefit from his abilities and his talents. And the sky's the limit for him, really. I think I've not seen, those two goals I mentioned, I've not seen many players strike the ball as well as him. And he's such an energetic player as well. He can turn defence into attack really quickly. And he's a great player to watch. So I'm looking forward to watching him for Copa America, definitely. And Billy Gilmore's another one I'm looking forward to seeing for Scotland in the Euros. And we know that obviously what he can do, and he's been such a key figure for Brighton and Scotland. So it'd be really great to see what he can do in the Euros for his country. Obviously in a tough group that they're in. Obviously they're up against Germany, so it'll be a few familiar faces.
Phil Gross and Billy Gilmour.
That'd be a great game to watch. That I'm really looking forward to that. And you mentioned Bart Verbruggen. I'm really keen to see how he does for the Netherlands in goal. But he's had a great season. I think just coming up to the end of the season, he really was the number one after chopping and changing between Jason Steele and Verbruggen throughout the season. Verbruggen really was the one that De Zerbi settled on towards the end of the season. So I hope that he can continue that form for his country and then for the club next season. No,
it's it'll be good. And also Valentin Barco, Henry, he looked pretty good in the back end of last season, and he's in with a chance, isn't he, of making the Argentina final cut as well. That just shows again how that Brighton have really got a great player on their hands there.
Definitely, at 19 years old, his confidence has been building at the Albion with the game time that he's been given, coming off the bench in his starting appearances, and then making his name on the team sheet a couple of times as well, which was good to see. I think there were a few mistakes made, especially when Brighton got thumped a little bit at Manchester City when they were at home. A few mistakes round the back that were seen, but Roberto De Zerbi commented on that after the game when he was manager, and was just saying that he's just building his confidence. Yes, he's made mistakes, but he was one of our best players on the pitch, which just shows the talent that Brighton are able to sort of get at the club. It is really remarkable, and I think lots of football fans commend Brighton for that. I think that he's another one of those players where, with a little bit of confidence and potentially getting into that Argentina squad, he could have a game-changing, world-beating, form of play, and start and hit the ground running for Brighton. It'd be really interesting to see how our young players perform, actually, because I think that will just give us a lot more confidence.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that left back spot at Brighton is going to be up for grabs, isn't it? With Purvis Estupiñán, he's going to be injured for the start of the beginning of next season. So it could be between Igor Julio and Valentin Barco for that left back left back spot. So yeah, one to keep an eye on. But thank you very much for joining us, Henry, and to Sam as well. You can catch up with all the latest sports news covering everything we've talked about today at sussexworld.co.uk, and you can watch more excellent videos on shotstv.com and Freeview channel 276. But thanks again.